And welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a fantastic, wonderful day here on a Friday. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in O'Hare campus area. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a little bit of a while, but we are back once again. We're talking all the sports, of course, as always, here on the Short Fuse Fridays, and kind of extend this maybe a little bit more potentially, as obviously Short Fuse is quote-unquote short, I guess, more or less, as people like to point out. But we've got a lot to talk about here, ladies and gentlemen, because next week I won't be here. I'm going to be away. So we're going to jam-pack in some stuff to talk about. Obviously, it's not everything I know you guys were asking me to talk about. A lot of you guys were asking me about quarterback battles in college football. Certainly a lot of you guys were asking me about the Michigan penalty and all that stuff. More than likely, I will address that when we get back, because obviously we've got some stuff we'll be talking about then, too, in the NFL, college football and stuff, and we'll get into some of that here, too, as well. Don't worry about that. But, yes, we've got, obviously, we're talking the Bears, we're talking Colts and Browns. We're going to talk a little UFC as well while we're in here, because I got some questions that came in from the get-go. As soon as that fight was over, I got some emails that came in from some of you guys talking about it. And then we're going to also talk a little bit about college football, getting back to the pick six. Well, picks, quote-unquote, six, if you will. Extended it a little bit more. Again, not going to be here next week when the season really does kick off for week one. But my man Scotty Kiefer's in the back. Scotty, my man, it's good to see you as always.
Hi, Andrew.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, are you ready to do this?
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously I wasn't able to see if you put them up there, but if you haven't, folks, you can hit us up on YouTube and on Twitch to see us where we are live streaming, because the YouTube, Twitch are officially back, both up. Yes, all we had to do, I just had to make sure that a check mark was checked. That's it. Apologies. We are back on both of them, so you can find us at youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports for the live streams happening on Fridays. Again, Mondays are kind of on the back burner. We will keep you guys updated when we can potentially come back for the Mondays. But as well as that stuff, too, you guys can follow us on the social media at xbombsports on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and on TikTok. By the way, Frankie, we got to talk, man. I need my clips from the last show. You didn't get them to me. Just kidding. I love you, kid. You're great. You're wonderful. But, yeah, no, I didn't get my clips either. But outside of that as well, too, also if you want to be able to hit us up as well for emails, again, questions, comments, things like that, hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. And now, apparently, I can get back into that because I had to reset my password because either, I don't know, I was hacked or something from the time that I left my work and I put everything in to the, you know what, I'm not even going to get into it. We have no time for that. I'm complaining for no reason, honestly. It's fixed. It's done. It's fine. I'm over it. I'm not over it, but, it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm also very hungry. But without further ado, Scotty, you ready to do this, my man? Let's get into this then. I don't even know if that was the response or not. So look, before we get into the questions and we'll get into the picks again, quote-unquote pick six, let's talk about Bears training camp, because obviously we had a flood of questions that came in when we previously talked about kind of before the first game of training camp, where a lot of you guys were expressing your concerns about what we were hearing from practice and from the coaches and all that stuff. And certainly I had my say. Scotty definitely had his say, of course. Now we have seen them through 2 preseason games. We've seen the first team offense out there against the Buffalo Bills, second team defense, I guess is what you would call it, with a couple of starters mixed in the bunch. But look, overall for the second preseason game, we get to see the first team offense for the Chicago Bears. 93-yard drive down the field from Caleb Williams being at the helm as quarterback. And my initial take on all of this, just from the get-go, because, again, a lot of you guys were kind of not asking questions. You were more of commenting on stuff, which is fine. But my overall take was the offense looked fluid. It looked solid. It looked like they have found their groove. They found their niche. It's not perfect. They still have some things they need to work out. There's certainly concerns I have for that team, no doubt. But offensively, I think they are finding the groove that's going to work for them, right? Caleb looked comfortable. His drop back looks a lot more easy. His comeback from center seems to be there when he needs to. His timing seems to be a lot better. A lot of things are, I think, improving. Again, I'm not launching this off and saying, hey, MVP campaign for this kid, but we are seeing growth, I think, on a level that you can expect to see improvement upon last year, right? That's what I would say. I don't know if it will be monumental. I'm not saying this kid's going to throw 50 touchdowns or anything like that. That would be nuts if he did. He possibly could. Who knows, right? But I think what you're seeing is that there's an acceptance of comfortability with him within the offense that I think for all of us we can appreciate. Even though I'm not a Bears fan anymore, I can say, look, the kid he certainly looks like he's getting better with the offense, and I think that's coming from you're studying with the coaches for once, right? That was the whole thing last year, was nobody was watching film with him and nobody was studying with him. So now you have a coaching staff who obviously seems to care. They're putting in the effort to want to help you get better, right? They're putting in the effort to want to see you improve, and it's paying dividends. Defensively, I have no problems with them. I mean, they've got depth for days. I will say this, and then I'll pass it to you, Scotty. There are two things that I will say that I think the Bears should do. This is just from my stake, okay? Trapilo needs to put more on tape. I think he could be the starting right tackle for the Bears, and then that would allow them to shift Darnell Wright to the left side because – sorry, I almost sneezed because I'm allergic to Braxton Jones being the left tackle, because I'm still hearing a lot of the same concerns that I had when he was a rookie that are coming up now when he is supposed to be this top of the NFL graded offensive tackle according to Pro Football Focus. Not top 10, not top 5. He's supposed to be in like the top half of the league in terms of a rated offensive lineman in – I don't know where I don't like the ratings. I think they mean nothing, but thank you. Yes, thank you, Scotty. I appreciate it. That's what I'm trying to get to here. So I think that would be a smart move for them, but I know he's a rookie. You're putting a lot of pressure then on a young guy, but I think for Darnell Wright, he played left tackle in high school. He played left tackle mostly in college. I know he's been playing more right tackle, of course. It's a big switch all of a sudden to go over there, but I think it would fit him more naturally. On the defensive side, maybe I'm jumping the gun on this. Maybe I'm wrong for saying this. I don't know. I'll drop it to you, Scotty. I'll drop it to anybody else that wants to say on it. I think Noah Sewell would be the best option for them to be the Mike middle linebacker. And I think Tremaine Edmonds can bump to the outside where you have his bigger frame with his athleticism and his coverage skills that could allow you then to cover tight ends, cover slot receivers, get running backs coming out of the backfield. I feel like he just fits better on the outside. That's just me. He and TJ Edwards play the outside. I think Sewell, and maybe some combination of Sewell and Popolite potentially, both of them look like the kind of hash mark to hash mark linebackers you want at the mic. I think Sewell could be a sideline to sideline guy. I'm not saying Urlacher. I'm not saying any of that, or Roquan, but there's the speed in which he can get to the ball carrier is impressive, especially his run-stopping ability. And I think as a Mike linebacker, if anything, I think that guy has to be one of your big concerns. I don't know, but Scotty, what about you, man? I mean, overall for the Bears, you've seen them now through 2 preseasons. I mean, what are your thoughts on them thus far? What do you think about my little kind of the changes I make? Give me your thoughts, man. What do you think for the Bears?
So, one, get Braxton Jones off this team. I don't really agree. I don't agree with switching Darnell Wright. I think it's early to throw Ozzie up onto the left tackle spot out of the gate.
No,
but they talked about it. It is hard to go get a left tackle. They're not shipping them at the first week of the preseason.
Right.
But it is not impossible, and I feel like if they went with the approach of numbers and like quantity over quality for that position, you're switching out maybe Ozzie, Jones, and then bring in another person and switch out at left tackle until one of them prevails, then you could do something like that, especially because that would help Ozzie develop longer.
Right.
I think obviously it'd be better to put Darnell on the left, but that is a bigger change than people think. So I kind of agree with you with that, but I think I'd rather do it that way. It's harder to go get that left tackle, but probably. As for Noah Sewell, I've been high on him ever since they drafted him in Oregon. I watched him at Oregon. I loved him at Oregon. My thing with him is I feel like he's not a every down Mike linebacker. I don't think he is not ready. I just don't think he fits being an 1 through 3 and even 4th middle linebacker.
Okay.
I think he could fill in. I like his run stop ability, so he's probably, I would say, a 1st and 3rd down. Take him out for 2nd down, unless they're close and probably going to run. But I just don't see him as an every down linebacker yet. I feel like he would fill in spots.
Okay.
Because I don't love his pass coverage. So, I agree with you moving Edmonds out to the side. But with that also happening, I mean, you are going to also have Brisker doing that as well.
Right.
Now that once they get Brisker and Byard back, those two in the safeties, they'll bring Brisker down more. So maybe he fits in there where he kind of just has to cover the middle, and it's not like he has to actually follow anyone, but I just don't see him as an every down guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
My one thing that I want to point out from the preseason that you didn't already hit on, other than the rest of the offensive line, other than Braxton Jones, just looks solid. It looks completely different to what we've seen in the past, and it just, like you said with Caleb, like he just looks more fluid. So does the offensive line, and you can tell. You can tell when they're going out there, giving him more time, and when they're running the plays correctly. A lot of that is because Caleb has the time and the pocket for it.
Yeah.
So the offensive line is honestly, that could be the biggest help of him. If he's barely improving, the biggest thing that's going to help him is just having that offensive line.
No, 100%. Well, listen, looking again at that offensive line, again, like you said, outside of Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright's made a lot of big improvements, and he's been a very solid piece for them at that right tackle spot. Whether he shifts to the left or whatever, I think he can do the job regardless. Dahlman has certainly been a great upgrade. A lot of the talk that Caleb has had talking with Drew Dahlman, there's a lot of communication happening. There's a lot of going over cadence, a lot of going over timing, everything like that. From what I understand, according to Drew Dahlman, I saw in an interview, he said it is a constant, let's get together, let's practice the snaps from shotgun, under center, different situations, quick snaps, 1 count, 2 count, all of that. Thuney has just been a voice for the offense, which
I was
is
going to say, he's been like the same thing as well. Like, he kind of is involved with those conversations with Dahlman because he's been on multiple offensive lines. He's worked with multiple coaches. He knows what he's doing. So even Dahlman, in his own right, is could probably mentor Caleb Williams, but having a guy like Thuney there to kind of help him along with it too, because he's always playing next to the center. He understands it, probably the second best on the whole team.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, this is a guy who some may say borderline Hall of Famer. I don't know. I like to look at him and say, like, there's a little bit of Bruce Matthews in him. For those that don't know, Bruce Matthews made the Pro Bowl at every position. This guy plays at a Pro Bowl player at almost every position with the Patriots. Tackle, guard, center. It doesn't matter. He could do it. Even with the Chiefs, he was making Pro Bowls as a guard and as a center for them. So there's obviously before Creed Humphrey, but there's a lot there for the Bears that you can envelop in. I think you can get really kind of into. There's promise. I still think the height of their powers right now could be 10-7. I still think at their lowest point they're 7-10. But I think the plus side on the 7-10 or the 10-7 is that the offense takes steps forward. That's the biggest key. Doesn't mean Caleb needs to throw for 4,000. I know that's what a lot of people said for him. Yeah, I know. Everybody just get to the mark, get it over with so that everybody can stop making the comment. I get it. But I think it's just more important that you see the efficiency that comes from him as a quarterback that leads to victories so that you can say you have a franchise quarterback, but it's a franchise-defining quarterback, not a defined quarterback.
Would you rather, if you were to pick one, would you rather see Caleb have 4,000 yards or 70% completion?
It's a good question.
Obviously, we want both.
Both would be nice.
Obviously, we want both.
Both would
but
be
if
nice.
you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I think, that's a tough question. I might go for the yardage. I might go the other way.
I might go the other way. I'd rather see the efficiency.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. Because obviously we're just throwing out that number, right? On 70% completion percentage, my picture all of a sudden goes to screen passes, Justin Fields, ducking down the ball, all that stuff. I don't think he's that quarterback, don't get me wrong. Because we're seeing the same thing from Justin. People ask me about that. We're seeing the same thing from Justin in year 4 or 5, whatever he's in now, that we saw from his rookie and second year in. Like, nothing is changing, it looks like. But, I mean, we'll see. We'll see, obviously, when they get to the season. But regardless, I think the yardage of 4,000 would just mean that you're throwing the ball down the field, you're moving the ball down the field, and more than likely with that come the touchdowns. And then from those come, I think, more victory, more wins. But listen, if he can do both, I think he's capable of it. I think this team is capable of it. You've got possibly 4 wide receivers you can throw the ball to. You've got cornerbacks for days. Unfortunately, Terrell Smith is now hurt, a guy who I thought maybe could shift to that safety spot if by any chance Brisker did get hurt. But even still, they've got guys that they feel comfortable with for days. Depth is on this team. The offense looks sharp. This is a Bears team we have never seen before in the city of Chicago. And even though I'm not a fan anymore, I'm very excited to start watching their games on a more consistent basis and actually be able to be like, oh, offense, instead of like, oh, yay, run the ball. Oh, yay, defense. So I'm excited. I'm happy. Football's back. We appreciate, obviously, all you guys for hitting us with the questions and comments on that. And as always, keep those questions and comments going. It's at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com because it is time for the fan question part of this one, ladies and gents. This is obviously, again, you guys ask us the questions. We answer them. So the first one we got coming in, this was a commodity question. 2 questions that I got in bulk, pushed them together. It was basically, Colts, if you don't know, named Daniel Jones as starting quarterback. The Browns have named Joe Flacco their starting quarterback. Scotty's happy with that one. Obviously, there's 2 teams that are we're still kind of, I think there's only 2 teams that we're still kind of waiting on for quarterback at this point. It would be the Saints, which at this point, Kellen Moore might be their best option, and it's true. And the Giants, which, I'm sorry, after what I saw last night, I think Jackson Dart should at least be ahead by some margin on Russell Wilson. I mean, at least keep Russell Wilson as the competent backup to be there just in case he goes down, and you may have a season ahead of you. I don't know. But everybody was asking about what do we think about the reasons of the teams choosing these starting quarterbacks. And look, there's all different kinds of reasons, right? You can go into all different kinds of reasons as to why they chose these guys. I will somewhat quickly break it down for each team, but I want to start at the very point as to where it all kind of tips off, right? More than anything, because I think this really comes down to coaching job security. Now, on one side, real quick on the breakdown, right, is the Browns, right? The Browns situation is, hey, we've got 2 young rookie quarterbacks, and I've got this veteran that 2 years ago, we made the playoffs with at 11-6. He was decent. He kept the offense afloat. He kept us in games for the most part. He's a trusted veteran. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been there, done that. We like him. They like him. The team likes him, right? Makes sense. Kevin Stefanski is familiar with Joe Flacco. To say that he's going to get fired obviously sounds crazy, but think about who his owner is. Crazy Texan man Jimmy Haslam. Not Jerry Jones, because he's not a Texan. He's actually an what do they call him? Arkansanians? I don't even know.
Arkansanity. That's Bryce Mitchell's podcast, which we know how that went.
No, that's no.
Shout out Joe Flacco. He's starting week 1 versus the Steelers. That statement could have been said in 2007.
That's true. That is very true. Wow. Good call on that, Scotty, for sure. Yeah, listen, I think when you look at it, though, Stefanski you go from 11-6. Last year, you became one of the worst teams in the NFL again. Now, I know injuries, problems with consistency at times on the team, right? There was a lot of stuff that happened. Don't get me wrong. But Stefanski is the head coach. You have to prove that you can make those adjustments. And for a guy like Jimmy Haslam, he's been the owner of the team now, 12 years? He wants results quickly. So if he doesn't start getting the results he wants, people are going to start going. And don't tell me he's not kind of wondering if Andrew Berry maybe made the right choice to trade away the number 2 pick that could have been Travis Hunter for Mason Graham, who I don't know if you've heard, Scotty, but I've heard from other people, it sounds like his camp has been rough. Like, he's out of shape. He's throwing up on the sidelines. He's looking sluggish. It's not looking great for him as a top 5 pick that you selected, that we all thought perennial Pro Bowler. Still could be, don't get me wrong, but it's not a good look to start things off when your camp has been like that, right? So I think it's Stefanski kind of saying, I've got a trusted quarterback here that I know I can go to. He knows my offense. It's now going to come down to which one of these 2 rookies I think is going to be the backup quarterback, and then who's going to be third string / practice squad guy. Because most likely Kenny Pickett's getting traded, I think. Just menial picks, goes to a team that needs a backup quarterback. Maybe the Saints. He might go to New Orleans. I don't know. Right? Somebody that needs a backup, somebody that needs depth at the quarterback will likely get Kenny Pickett. I do not believe they'll carry 5 quarterbacks going into the season. That just seems implausible. Seems reckless almost. But look, for everything Shador's done, he looks good. For everything that Dylan Gabriel's done, he's looked pretty good as well, right? Both have done good things. Both have done some not so good things. They show the capabilities of being starting quarterbacks, maybe potentially, but it's still project that I would still stamp project on them both, regardless. Scotty?
I just looked it up. September 11th, 2011, Steelers at Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco started.
Seems so long ago. God.
And he's still starting week 1 versus the Steelers, baby.
That's
Thanks for winning me money, Joe Flacco.
There you go. There you go, Joe. You're helping out Scotty here. But look, on the other side of this, obviously, for the Colts, right? This, I think, though, on the Colts side of things, it is the same concept, right? Shane Steichen doesn't want to lose his job. Daniel Jones is the lesser of 2 evils because it's not about Daniel Jones winning the job. It's Anthony Richardson not being able to win it more than anything. He lost the job. It was his to lose first and foremost because he has the look, the untapped potential, right? He has the skill set. All of that stuff should transition to what the NFL is today, especially with Shane Steichen's offense that we saw in Philly with Jalen Hurts. This was supposed to be bigger version Jalen Hurts, a Cam Newton type of quarterback coming out of Florida. Ironically, a school that had Cam Newton at one point, right? Like everything seemed to be lining up. But this is, I think, more on Chris Ballard, the GM, taking a huge risk on a young man that I think wasn't mature, quarterback ready for what was going to be handed to him as a starting quarterback, as a top 5 pick. You're the franchise guy. I don't think he was prepared for that. He's never been a very accurate passer. He hardly ever saw the field really at Florida except for his last year, and it was a very mediocre season at best. He showed flashes of talent that was enough that convinced the Colts and some other teams to say maybe he is a first-round pick. I will be honest, and I'm not trying to insult the Florida man here or any other Florida fans out there, I just didn't see first-round talent out of him. The spurts said he could be. I thought he should have been drafted somewhere in the 2nd, maybe even the 3rd. There was Scotty's on the same boat. And it's not a knock against him, and that doesn't mean that he can't grow and get better. I said at his height, I thought he was Cam Newton. At his worst, I thought he might be Jamarcus Russell. But at least he never got to the point where he wasn't studying tape, it sounds like. He at least was putting in the work to try and become a better quarterback, studying and putting in notes and doing all that extra stuff. What I think became the problem, though, is somewhere between Vince Young and Justin Fields, where you're putting in the work like Justin Fields, but you're not grasping the concepts like Vince Young was having the trouble with.
He just shouldn't have been picked 4th overall.
Yeah, more than anything. Certainly.
If he was drafted like where Jackson Dart is,
yes.
which I guess you can then move on to the Giants. Like, if he was drafted where Jackson Dart is and had that same kind of progression where there's that veteran there that he might still start over, but if he sits behind like a Russell Wilson, hey, that's not that bad.
Right.
But no, he was picked 4th overall. It's a little different in that circumstance.
Yeah. He'll be labeled a bust, but I heard Dan Patrick say it. Why does bust necessarily be a bad thing for Anthony Richardson when Chris Ballard was the one that made him the 4th overall pick for the Indianapolis Colts? And I agree with him. He's right. Absolutely. Or if you were going to pick at 4th, I put out a list on Twitter, okay? I don't know if you saw it, Scotty. I put out that list. I listed every guy they could have taken in the first round instead of Anthony Richardson at 4th overall. Some would have certainly been reaches, but they were at least to this point, they've at least been impact players. Some of them look like they're going to be perennial Pro Bowlers for years to come. And some of them were even running backs like Bijan and Jameer. Guys that you would say, well, they've got Jonathan Taylor. Right, but would it hurt to have 2 possible Pro Bowl running backs for that team? I mean, you want to talk to Detroit about what that's like? Because I think they're winning because of that. Just saying. To me, I think this is just about Steichen basically saying, look, Daniel Jones is possibly going to keep my job alive a little bit while longer. Not necessarily, but I think it's kind of the lesser of two evils. He doesn't want to lose the opportunity to coach, and this is the best one. He goes with Anthony Richardson. They may go 0-6, and that might be the end of his time in Indianapolis. Mind you, this ownership just changed because Irsay, may he rest in peace, Jim Irsay passed away. The family now takes over. They seem to want to keep control, but if they do decide to sell the team, or if they decide to go in a different direction on how they want the team to go, Steichen could be out one way or another.
No, the only way he'll be out, and this is all that there's no other reason why he could be in or why he could be out.
Okay.
Is what their record looks like at the end of the year. If they have the number 1 pick, he's gone. Because what's the problem with the Bears? They always draft a new guy, draft a new quarterback, and hire the head coach the year later.
Yes.
The Colts aren't going to do that. They'll fire him if they get the number 1 pick and they can go get an Arch or a Drew Aller.
That's fair.
That's just or Garrett, whatever they do. If they have the chance to draft a quarterback in the first 3 picks, they will fire him no matter what. Just to survive that.
That's very possible.
And I think you can get through this quickly. Spencer Rattler should be the quarterback for the Saints. I mean, he's been playing the best. He practically won them the game last week. I know they're.
Here's 2 piles of manure. The only difference is the smell. That's kind of what I'm coming.
That's the thing. The Saints aren't going to be a good team.
For the Saints, that's kind of the story for them. The Saints, listen, I'll make it quick with the Saints. I'm actually on the other side. I think they should just throw Shuck in there and just see what he can do at the start and then just hand it over to Rattler to just kind of finish the season off because it feels like New Orleans may just end up with one of the worst records.
I think you give it to Rattler just because he's been in the system. That's the only thing.
You could.
You give him enough. You've given him enough time in the system. Shuck just picked it up.
Sure.
That's why. As for New York, Jackson Dart last week was the second quarterback to play and basically playing against second and third strings.
Sure.
And had a decent performance.
Right.
This week, he went up against mostly backups and a couple starters.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough to put him over the experience of Russell Wilson.
No, I think for the Giants, though, you picked him in the first round. He's looked like he's fundamentally at least clicking with the offense that Brian Daboll's put out there on the field. And so I think that there's more of an incentive to want to start him over Russell Wilson because you know Wilson can go in there at any time. He's proven that in Pittsburgh to be able to go in there and start right away if he needs to and can win you some games. Dart is potentially your future, and I think the sooner that you can figure out if he is your future, the better. That's just kind of where Dart feels like the kind of quarterback you can throw in there and you kind of want to give him the playbook and you want to start to give him more control of the offense as soon as you can. That's what I'm getting from the kid. I don't think he's a guy that necessarily wants to sit, wants to learn. I'm sure he'll be fine with it if that's the case. But I think he's a guy, if you can throw him into the fire, there might be some miscues, but I think you'll get similar results to what you saw with Drake May last year. That's, I think, what you can get from a guy like Jackson Dart. I know that's kind of comparing 25th pick to the 3rd overall pick, but you still got to sell me a little bit more on Drake May. I got to see what this year brings for that kid.
Can I be honest? I think for Jackson Dart, it just depends who they go up against.
Sure, yeah,
but
no.
I don't think putting him up against the Eagles twice a year and the Cowboys twice a year currently,
yes,
with a Micah Parsons, is probably not the best option.
Sure.
And you could ruin him that way. That's a tough defensive division right now.
No, absolutely.
I think if they had the Patriots schedule, which is weak, very weak, then I would say Jackson Dart. But being in that division, playing against some tough defenses, I'd rather have the experience.
Sure. No, I understand that. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong. The good thing is I don't think there's really a wrong answer for the Giants in this situation because you start the rookie. I think, if anything, he has some disadvantages against him, but I think you can see a guy like Jackson Dart, he can gain some valuable experience. You start Russell Wilson, I still think he might be good enough to be able to make you a winning team at some point because there is a little bit of magic, I think, still left in him. It's the last bits of the sand coming out of that bag, but I think it's just enough to be able to say Daboll can keep his job for a little bit while longer while the Giants recoup it. I'll say this, that defense looks gnarly. I know I'm throwing out an old school term there, but, man, they look fast. You put all 3 of those dudes out there on the defensive line, Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter, they're quick. Add Dexter Lawrence to be the middleman, putting the pressure. That's a defensive line that can be like, oh, we just rush all 4 of these guys, and the rest of these guys drop back into coverage. That's a Giants defense that might be on the rise again. That's a Giants defense that looks like it did back in the 2000s when they were going to the Super Bowls. Just saying. Just saying. But thank you guys for the questions. We appreciate it. What do you think about the quarterback situation, though? Comment down below. Let us know. Comment on the side. Comment in the sections. Let us know. Email us back. We want to hear from you guys. Colts, Giants, Saints, Browns. I don't think there's any other quarterback competitions in the NFL at this point. I think everybody's kind of lockstep and key on who they know, who their starter is to this point. I don't see who else is going to be a competition. But let us know, folks. So let's get to the UFC. Because, like I said, after the fight, I got a good number of emails on this being like, what do you think about the main event? I will say this. The card in itself I thought was entertaining. I did 100%. I thought it was one of the best I've watched in a long while. This had great fights. It had some old school names that came in here. MVP, my man, coming in clutch, showing what 38-year-olds can do. That's what's up. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I know there's a lot of people that were certainly questioning the main event fight, right? I'm going to butcher his name. Not Shemaev. I know Shemaev. Duplessis? Duplessis. I apologize. I know that there's a big back and forth on how that fight came out. A lot of people are now complaining that the UFC maybe needs to put in some different rules and stuff. And so that was the question I got from people was, what are my feelings about the main event of the UFC 319? I did watch it, and I thought Duplessis just got outmatched 100%. That's just where I'm at. I think Chimaev is undefeated for a reason. I think that's why he's quickly rising up the rankings as maybe one of those next all-time great fighters. He's incredible. His wrestling is unbelievable. The only other guy I've ever seen maybe be this good is Scotty can speak to this more, and I will let him certainly have more of the say-so on this. But Khabib Nurmagomedov, I think, is maybe the only other guy I can think of that has that wrestling composition where he gets you on the ground and he knows how to work you and he knows how to handle you and he understands how to control you. But on the same time, too, by the way, check out Scotty's article that's on spittingoutsports.com. Scotty did a great job doing the whole recap of 319 as well, folks. In Scotty's article, as I've seen in multiple others, Chimaev was up in strikes as well. What was it, 600? Something like it was insane. The difference between strikes, ride time, takedowns, he dominated. From beginning, well, it was less than 10 seconds he had a takedown. Come on. The fact that people want to complain about it, I understand that ground tactics are not exactly the fun stuff. But what is MMA? Mixed martial arts, which means there are multiple different ways that fighters can go into fights. And what is the best way to win a fight but an old school term that I was told by one of trainers that I used to work with a long time ago, which he always said, fight your fight. It was meant to be for a boxing term, but it stands for all combat sports. You start fighting somebody else's fight, you're going to lose. You fight your fight, you'll win almost every time. That's where I stand on this.
I want to counteract your point with this.
Please, Scotty.
540-something strikes, 12 takedowns, 21 and 40 seconds of control time, 0 submission attempts.
Yes.
0. He didn't even try to finish the fight.
Right.
That's the problem that people have more with.
Sure.
I have a problem with. Because the thing is, I mean, we've seen fights like this all the time. You compared him to Khabib. This was what Khabib did all the time. The difference is Khabib would submit people.
Right.
You know, I agree. I mean, that's the easy comparison. Both not great at striking. Both dominate. Both, you know what they're going to do, and they do it anyways. Undefeated from the same kind of area. So they're the exact same guys, basically.
Right.
The thing is, though, when you have that control time and try to finish the fight a grand total of 0 times, that's the problem. Yeah. Is he's just stalling out for a win. Which, I mean, so many UFC fighters have been fired. They've been just fans become disliking of them. When that happens, Mohamed Makayev and what's his name, Mario Batista. I mean, no one likes Mario Batista now, and he's a contender in the division, and no one wants to see him fight. No one is going to buy fights when Khamzat Chimaev is going to be the champion in the main event if this is what he's going to do. No. And I think that's, and it's fair because who would pay $79.99 for that? And they're not moving to Paramount yet, so maybe when he's free, that's fair. But I think just the fact that he was clearly just stalling for time and just boring it out, just made it so annoying to watch because he is so much better than that. And he's going up against Dricus, who I love Dricus. I wanted him to win so bad. I was so nervous every time he got taken down. I was literally shaking. I mean, he was just clearly better than him. He walked in clearly better than him. It was weird because I saw it as like a 50-50 fight. And
a lot of people did.
And the odds didn't suggest it. And I'm like, no, this is like a 50-50. If he stays up, Dricus is decent. And then it's just, the thing is, Dricus just couldn't get out of it. Right. Because he was just stalling for it. I don't think there's anyone in the division that could take him down. The best one could be Hernandez, who's going to fight RDR next in October. Other than that, there's really no one that could beat him. And I think that's more of the problem. If we keep getting fights like this, and this is what we get. Right. I think, and you want to talk about the Khabib comparison? Khabib retired undefeated after defending the belt for a couple times. Honestly, I think you could see the same thing with him. Because there's just no one that could beat him. Baralho's not beating him. Imavov, I don't think, could beat him. I mean, maybe if he catches him on one strike, sure. DDP just got absolutely crushed. Strickland's out until December, and he's still got to fight his way back up because I don't know if you heard about that. He got suspended. For that fight.
No, trust me, I got some people that are like, what do you think about this Jamoke? And I was like, well, listen, Sean, I will say this just very quickly for Sean's sake, just to answer that question. By the way, thank you, Mike, for asking. Not our Mike, a different Mike. He's an idiot. That's just the base answer. He's just an idiot. There's a lot of those guys that are just dumb. That's the only thing I can give Sean Strickland. But please.
No, there's no one that could beat him. I think that's the main problem.
Yeah.
And he's still just so good. He could be one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC, but that's about it.
No,
there's no one that could beat him.
I think your point is valid. Honestly, I think it's very valid to say that the fact that he didn't try to go for a submission when he probably easily could have ended that fight, I'm sure, a lot sooner. Perhaps maybe he was drawing it out for his own entertainment. The thing is that Chimaev, fighters like him, I feel like, are just a different kind of like breed, if you will. I don't want to assimilate that or say a different type of animal or anything like that. I don't mean to say that in some kind of derogatory term by any means, but there's just something, they're wired different, if you will. They work in a different pattern. And maybe this was him kind of being like, I'm going to toy with my food. I don't know. He's dead set on this being like, I'm going to destroy everybody. Like everybody is my enemy. I'm going to beat you. I love that, but I understand where people can come from this and go, come on, man, make it a little bit more entertaining for us. Because people got, like you said, people got upset with Khabib, but the problem is that Nurmagomedov always found a way to be able to be like, now I put you to sleep, now I knock you out, now you go down. Like he always figured out how to be able to beat you at some point. Like it was just one of those things that you were waiting for. So I understand it, I get it, I know that people are going to be annoyed with it, all that kind of good stuff, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I agree with you, Scotty. I don't know who's beating him. It's like him at the top, and then there's a long list of like, maybe like you said, maybe the one strike you catch him. But the way that he goes at guys, I mean, look, he jumped the gun coming out of the corner even in this fight. Like, I'm sorry, with guys like that are different.
I'll tell you what, though, if you're rooting for this kind of style, just don't watch the UFC. We don't want this. This is like there's the people that actually root for this kind of fighting. You're a terrible person.
I would say this as somebody who did wrestle in high school. I enjoy watching the wrestling, but I agree with you. I need to see submission holds going for submission holds in order to make it more entertaining. I don't want to just I've seen enough of that in my time as a wrestler, watching high school, college, all that stuff of guys just going for ride time to score points. It does get very dull, I can tell you that. But appreciate the questions, guys. Thank you so much for that. All right, Scotty, let's tear through these, shall we? Folks, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with it. It's time. Pick six. Yes. Or it's a modified pick six this time because, again, I'm going to be out all next week. I'm going to be on the beaches and more beaches. So I figured while I'm going to be out, I picked the top 8 games that I found for this week and next week, put them all together, and we're going to go through them. So, Scotty, let's do this, man. First game up, we've got number 22, Iowa State. There's number 17, Kansas State. This is in Dublin. This kicks off the season. Big 12 matchup. Right now favored Kansas State by 3 points. The over-under is at 49.5. Scotty, you want to give yours real quick on how you see the game going?
Avery Johnson breakout party. They don't destroy them, but win convincingly.
Okay. Like that. I'm in the same boat. I like the quarterback battle here. Rocco Becht, I think he's a pretty decent quarterback, but you lost both your big weapons, right? They're both in the draft now. Or the draft. They're both in the NFL now on the same team, nevertheless. And I don't know how that passing game is going to look. They didn't find anybody really in the transfer portal to replace them. Johnson has that Colin Klein with a better arm kind of feel to him as a Kansas State quarterback. I like the fact they still have Edwards, the Colorado transfer, at running back there. I think they're going to have a great ground game. They've got some receivers that look like they could be poised for breakout, and their defense is fairly solid, returning a lot of good starters to that team. So I would expect Kansas State. I would maybe say 9-point different for them, give them a 9-point difference. And I would say as far as the over-under goes, this may just hit the under, and that's just because I don't know if Iowa State's going to be able to score a lot of points in this. Just think their offense might be very limited, so that's where I'll go, Kansas State.
Hey, by the way, just breaking, Brian Robinson Jr. just got traded to the 49ers.
Whoa. Okay. That's news. So I guess that means a certain new running back for the Washington Commanders is about to get some debut points. What's his name? Crusette?
Bill.
Okay.
Bill.
He's if you haven't seen, Washington's got a nice little running back that's been making a lot of plays. Their new Alfred Morris has officially appeared, so be on the lookout for him, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of people are going to draft him probably pretty high in fantasy. All right, let's go to the next one here. Congratulations, Brian Robinson Jr. You're on a 7-10, 9-8, 8-9 team.
Wait, what does that mean about McCaffrey? Is that just in case he gets hurt?
No, that's because he's going to get hurt. What do you mean, in case? Come on, who do you think you're talking about here? All right, next game we have Nebraska against Cincinnati, folks. This is kind of a little bit of love to our boy Tyler, obviously. But I'm also intrigued because both teams are returning back a lot of starters. Both teams have interesting quarterbacks. Sorsby for Cincinnati looks pretty good. Obviously, Nebraska, though, is the favorite with Dylan Raiola kind of at the helm. This is, by the way, in Arrowhead Stadium, so I'm sure Patrick Mahomes Sr. will be watching chubby Patrick Mahomes Jr. do his thing. Nebraska's favored by 6.5. The over-under's at 53.5. Scotty, Nebraska, Cincinnati, what are your thoughts, man?
If it was at Cincinnati, I'd say it'd be a lot tougher of a test, but because it's at Arrowhead, I'm going to give it to Nebraska.
Okay. I'm in the same boat. Give it to Nebraska. I'll say Nebraska. I'll give them double digits. I'll give them 10-point difference. And I will say I think this hits the I'll say this hits the over. I think Cincinnati can give them a nice run for their money. Give that defense. I mean, I'm extremely excited to see how that new look defense is going to be for Nebraska for sure. So, but I'm with you. Cornhuskers, double digits. I'll take the over on that. All right, next we've got Auburn at Baylor. I know what you're thinking. What, really, this game? Here's why, folks. This is the shocking thing. Auburn favored in the game by 2.5. The over-under's at 57.5. Scotty, who you taking, man?
Yeah, no. No. I actually think Baylor could be a dark horse in the Big 12 this year.
Okay.
So I think a good start would get a win against Auburn.
We think alike. I'm in the same boat. I'm actually taking Baylor. I'm going to take Baylor, actually. I'm going to give them 14. I'm going to give them 2 full touchdowns on this. I don't like what I'm hearing from Auburn. I don't know. Have you seen the thing with Hugh Freeze, Scotty? Just real quick.
Yeah.
He's screaming about Jackson Arnold, Mr. 5-star quarterback transfer from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Boy.
I don't know.
Don't you wish Peyton Thorne was coming back? Peyton, I salute you for a great career. Congrats on being on SEC football, and you got out of there in the nick of time. Jesus. Boy, Cam Coleman better make the big difference in these games, I'm telling you. That kid's going to be a stud. That kid's going to be a real stud. But, I'm taking Baylor. I like the quarterback, like the team. Defense looks good. And I think, sorry, Hugh Freeze, you're not as good a coach as Aranda. I like Aranda a lot better. So, 2 touchdowns the favorite. I'll say it hits the under. Auburn doesn't score half as many points as they should. All right, next we got Georgia Tech at Colorado. I'm really interested for seeing this game because I don't know who the starting quarterback for Colorado is yet. But Georgia Tech right now is favored by 4 points. The over-under's at 54.5. Scotty, who you taking, man?
I mean, I don't know who's starting for Colorado.
Neither do I. I'll tell you this.
I feel like I have to go Georgia Tech by proxy just because I don't know who's starting.
I'll tell you this right now, just real quick. I talked with some of my coaches that I do the recruiting with. They told me that across college football, Division I, FBS to FCS, there are over 30 teams going into week 1 not knowing who their starting quarterback is and could potentially start 2 quarterbacks in their first game. 30 teams.
That's terrible.
That's
terrible.
That's nuts. That's nuts. And I think a lot of that's due to NIL and transfer portal. You want to satisfy everybody, but I'll save that for the article that I'm writing, folks. Check it out this weekend.
I think I just have to go with Georgia Tech because I don't know what's going on at quarterback. Like, I don't.
Fair.
I couldn't tell you.
That's fair. You know, I do kind of want to favor Colorado, like to give them the plus, but I'm kind of on the Georgia Tech on this one. They got Haynes King back. They got a lot of veterans back. Experience is on that side. It's not that I don't like Dion. It's not that I don't even like their quarterback. Salter's a good quarterback, and Julian Lewis is too. But like Scotty said, who are you starting? Who are you starting? And don't even try and convince me that, what's his name, LeJontay Webster? Don't even try to convince me that that's a Jeremiah Smith clone. I've been hearing that all over the internet. Kid's big, athletic, can make plays, but outside of that, what do they have? They've got a throwaway running back from Ohio State that hasn't done anything, an offensive line that's to shreds outside of Jordan Seaton, their sophomore, and a defense that's been decimated except for some transfer guys that might be good. And one of them is named Goldberg. Or whatever his real last name is, I don't remember. But, yeah, I'm taking Georgia Tech. I'll take Georgia Tech on the full touchdown. I'll take the over on it, though. I think somehow Colorado will find a way to score some points on this. All right, let's get into the big games.
Actually, Andrew,
yeah.
get the unranked game out of it.
Okay,
get the unranked.
We can kick that one out. I put this in here because I'm intrigued with it. TCU at UNC. It's Bill Belichick's first game, obviously. TCU though is favored by 3 points. The over/under on this 58.5. Scotty,
I'm taking the under, and I'm taking TCU. I think it'd be funny if Bill Belichick loses that first week.
I mean, listen again. Kind of like we just talked about with Colorado, it's not that I don't like Bill. I think Bill is going to be a fine coach for the college ranks, don't get me wrong. But quarterback is still kind of a thing I think that's up in the air. Do they have the right guy? There's a lot of missing pieces, I think, to that team that they still need to figure out. How are they going to look collectively? And this is going up against the TCU team again. Veterans across the board. So I like TCU. I'll give them 5, maybe 6. For the points to be favored, and then I'll take the under in this too. If anything, Bill knows how to put together a defense, but I will say TCU finds a way to put points up on the board where UNC struggles, I think. So now let's get to the ranked games. Let's do this. Hit me with the first one, Scotty. We got Notre Dame, number 6 against number 10, Miami. It's CJ Carr versus Carson Beck. Because that's the quarterback matchup we're all looking forward to, right? Notre Dame favored in this game by 2.5 points. The over-under, though, sitting at a whopping 50.5. Scotty, who are you taking for this?
Not because I like Notre Dame, but I think Carson Beck is going to get exposed, and I think you're going to start to see a decline from him. And I think this could be where Jeremiah Love really steps up. And, like, he was already fantastic, but, you know, this could be a game where he could honestly have, like, 3 touchdowns and 150 yards. I can, like, just see that happening. I would actually give Notre Dame more than the 2.5. I'd probably give them 10. I could see them winning by 10.
Okay. I'm going to go with Miami. Yeah, I know. I like their offensive line. I like their running back duo. As much as I know Jeremiah Love might be considered one of, if not maybe the best running back in college football, I don't know. It's a first-time starting quarterback in for Notre Dame. Even Carson Beck, as bad as he might have been last year, I still think he's a still more competent quarterback that can go in there in Miami and fit that offense. They don't have to do a lot of crazy things. They just have to keep things simple. And look, Miami's defense, they got experience. They got better. They got stronger. I like it. I'm more trusting on it. I will only give them a point difference in this, but I will certainly take the under for sure in this game. So, yeah, I'll take Miami on this. I'll give them a point on this one at least. So I might be in the minority for that. Sure. Sorry, Tom. Sorry, you're fighting Irish lose their first game on my account. Yeah, next we've got number 9 LSU against number 4 Clemson. Yes, the Tigers versus the Tigers.
Death Valley travels to Death Valley.
Yes. This is in comes in South Carolina, by the way.
This is in Death Valley. Which
yes,
one?
This is in Death Valley. The other Death Valley. Clemson's favored by 4. The over-under's at 57.5. Scotty, who are you taking?
Andrew, I'm sorry, but I'm going to put this into existence. Great game up until the final drive. LSU needs to drive down, and the defense just steps up and stops Garrett Nussmeier. I just see it happening. It won't be a bad loss for LSU, but it'll put some questions out into the ether. So that's what I'm going with Clemson by, like, what is it, 4?
Yeah.
I think it could be by, like, 3. Like, I feel like that game-winning drive is like a touchdown to win it.
Okay.
Or go into overtime and Nussmeier throws a pick.
I think we're thinking on the same wavelength because I was kind of in that same boat.
You shouldn't be. You should be more optimistic.
Listen, here's the thing, though. I put this in my article for buy or sell, right, that I did for my blog. Again, spitnoutsports.com. Go check it out. I did the top 12 teams. Only did the top 12 teams because those are the ones right now that are obviously like, oh, these are automatic in football playoff if it were to happen, right? So I just did the top 12 teams. Obviously, Clemson, LSU are in there. I gave them both a bye for I think they can both make the playoff. I think Clemson, though, has a more complete roster. LSU, I see it. They have some holes that they need to fill. I mean, they just had a running back that just got arrested with gun charges and domestic violence. Jeez, another one. God. I will say this. Passing game-wise, Garrett Nussmeier could go for 5,000 yards. He's got 6 wide receivers that can all run under 4.4 flats. It's crazy. Running back-wise, it's going to be tough. Caden Durham, I think he's another Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I think you need somebody else to complement him somewhere there, too. Their offensive line lost Will Campbell. You have to find a way to replace him. I think Adams is great as the left tackle being named. I think he'll be fine. But it's another true freshman you're sticking in there and being like, all right, man, you got to handle the best edge rushers. And I'm sorry, Clemson has like 4 first-round picks on their team, 3 of them on defense, right? T.J. Parker, top 5 pick. Peter Woods, top 5 pick. Avion Terrell, who is A.J. Terrell's younger brother, could be a first-round pick. And then you got Cabe Klubnik, who I think he could be the top quarterback taken in the draft. Seriously, I think he's that good. I look back at his tape, I think he's that good. He could be an NFL ready-to-go, prime-time franchise quarterback. So I'm in the same boat. Clemson, I give it to them. I give them 6. I think it hits the over, though. A lot of offense. I still have to see what this LSU defense looks like. They got transfers. They got a recruit that's 6'5" at corner. He's crazy. He looks insane. But I still have to see them on the field to know exactly what I'm getting from that team. I root for you, LSU. I do. I hope you prove me wrong. I'm going with Clemson, though. Last but not least, the big one.
Screw you, Fox. Why did you got to make this the noon game?
Because they stink. Don't you
Why
know?
you got to make this the noon game, the 11 a.m. game?
Because they stink. Don't you know that? Because they stink. Yes, number 1, Texas had number 3, Ohio State. For some reason, this is not the primetime game. I don't know why. Fox just can't let this be the primetime game. But whatever. They suck. You suck, Fox. Just kidding. Yeah, look, Texas right now isn't even favored in this game, believe it or not. Ohio State is actually the favorite by 2. The over-under is the lowest of the bunch at 47.5. Scotty, man.
Can I be honest? That makes sense because OSU started a new quarterback.
Yep.
And although we've seen Arch Manning, I don't think a lot of people have complete trust in him, especially against a team like Ohio State and their defense.
Small sample size.
I know they lost a lot of key pieces, but they're also bringing back some. I'd say it's about half, I believe.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's just how much do you believe in Arch Manning? How much do you believe in him?
That's the question. I mean, honestly, that's the biggest thing. And how much does Ohio State really believe in Julian Sayin? For me, I put this in the buy or sell stuff. I think both of them are buys to go to the college football playoff. No doubt. They could easily win their conference championships. Again, no doubt. My biggest thing is Arch Manning for Texas, Ohio State. My biggest thing is, how do you replace that run game? They don't have any running backs that really kind of stand out like they did last year, right? No transfer, no Travion Henderson that they recruited. Bo Jackson, of no relation, is maybe their best guy, and he's a 4-star freshman. That's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid to say you have to carry the load. I'm sorry. They may have to do running back by committee to try and solve that run game. Or, I'll tell you this, Jeremiah Smith better have the receiver of all receiver years and win that Heisman Trophy, which I think he could.
Arch gets the statement win.
Okay.
This is a low-scoring game. This is like a 24-21 low-scoring game, 21-17 type game. I mean, but I think he just goes a little bit further.
Okay. I like that. I think this is a statement game for Jeremiah Smith where he puts up the numbers, but I'm with you on the Texas win. I'll take Texas. I'll take them by 3. I think Arch plays a good enough game to get them the W. I don't even know if he throws a touchdown pass in this game. It feels like he might probably run the ball in a couple times to get him the win. And also, too, keep in mind, C.J. Baxter is hoping to be back. So pair him with Wisner last year who had 1,000 yards. There could be a dynamic duo running back 1-2 punch for Texas. Again, another tandem that they've had in their history of long tandems. It's crazy. I can't believe you get that lucky. Seriously. But yeah, I'll take Texas, and I'll actually take the over on this. It's tough because these are two of the best defenses in the country. Don't get me wrong. But I just have a feeling this will be like back and forth. Towards the end, it'll be like we scored, you score, we scored, you score, and then it'll just hit that over. But it could be a stalemate for the first 3 quarters. So, but I'll take Texas. I'll take them at 3, and I'll give them the over. So, there is the pick 6 or pick 8 for this one. Again, we will do 6 games every week as long as they are good enough games. Otherwise, I'm going to cancel some out, or I might add some depending on how loaded the week might be. There's one week in here that looks like it's going to be a crazy week towards the end of the season. My God, the matchups are going to be insane towards the end of the year. But that's going to do it for the Pick 6. Obviously, let us know who you're picking, how you're seeing the games go. And then, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our show. And we want to thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you guys, as always, being a part of the conversation, being a part of the topic, being a part of the questions and the comments, being a part of the show in that kind of manner. If you guys want to continue to watch us when we go live, you know where you can find us. You can find us at youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports as well. You guys can also find us as well on all the social media sites, too. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on all of that. All you have to do is search at XBomb Sports, and you can find us on all those wonderful little platforms there, ladies and gentlemen. And, again, questions, comments, things like that, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We love to hear from you guys. I love to be able to answer your questions. You guys have been asking if we will do some more kind of out-of-the-box, outside of sports questions. Those will eventually come. It's just the fact that we only have Fridays right now makes it a little tough. But hopefully we can get back to those at some point. Maybe when there's some dead periods within college football, it'll be a little tough. But, when it does happen. And, once I'm able to kind of get back with the group for the blow the whistle, we'll probably answer some more personal stuff, too, on the questions side. Not too serious. And as some of you know, I went to a party a couple Fridays ago, and some of you were wondering how it went. Let me just say this: I am not a juggalo, and Fago is terrible, and we'll just leave it at that as your little cliffhanger. So, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. Some of you guys are not going to get that at all. Scotty, did you even get that? Okay, that's fine. I'll explain it afterwards for you. You're a little young. You probably know what I'll talk when I tell you. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being the most wonderful fans in the world. We will see you next week for next Friday for another fantastic. We will see you in 2 weeks for another fantastic show. I can't wait. I'm super excited. Football is going to be back. The NFL, college football. Feels like I'm back in action, baby. We're back in action here, ladies and gents. Thank you all again so much for listening and so much for watching. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.